Hey everyone, Dr. Rodman with Sports Chiropractic. Last week we talked about knowing your number 1, 2, and 3 most important stretches and doing them consistently to have long-lasting effects and changes to your muscle. So I wanted to share my number 1 stretch, which is Pigeon Pose. And it's also probably one of the number 1 stretches I give to patients. And why? Because it stretches a really tight muscle in our hip, which is often very weak too, called the piriformis. A lot of people have heard of that and have been told they have tight piriformis muscle. And I find in our practice, probably somewhere around 90% of people with low back pain, actually the majority of the problem is coming from tightness in the glute muscles and the piriformis most likely. So I'm gonna show you some easy ways that you can stretch this muscle. And number 1 is, if you wanna kind of test it, just check out your hip rotation. If this is really restricted and you can't get 30, 40 degrees of this, probably tightness in that piriformis. Or if you have a really hard time bringing your foot up and tying your shoes sometimes, that can be it. So the easiest way to stretch it is kind of just getting into this seated pigeon pose where you're just crossing your knee, pushing down right here, and just holding it for about 2-3 minutes. This is a great thing to do during your work day, while you're at dinner. It doesn't look like you're even stretching. That's my number 1 easiest way. The second way, which I prefer a little bit more than that, is finding something about, hip height and putting your foot up on there. Now you're doing a pigeon with a little bit of a good morning, which is where you're gonna kind of lean forward. You're really gonna feel a good stretch in that glute and that piriformis, and same thing, you're gonna hold it for about 2 to 3 minutes. Now a pigeon, the classic pigeon, is really laying on the floor with your leg in that same cross position, and you're actually just gonna kind of melt onto your leg and stretch like this. Same rule applies of holding it for about 2 to 3 minutes. And what I found from a guy, knees over toes guy, if you guys don't know him, I would highly recommend checking him out. But he gave me this idea of actually strengthening your piriformis muscle. We're gonna hold a kettlebell or some sort of weight and kind of stay in this position. Now you actually turned it into an exercise. And I've kind of added where I'll go and I'll reach, I'll tap, and I'll come up, and you really feel it in that glute muscle. So a lot of people have tight piriformis, but it's also weak. So pigeon pose could be a really good one for you. If you're having low back problems, we'd love to help you out. Dr. Rodman, have a great day.